I went to prison for my sister's crime. She repaid me by kicking me out of the house. Hello, Reddit. I plus here. I took the blame for my younger sister's drunk driving crash and spent 2 years in prison. The day I was released, my family threw me out like garbage. 6 months later, they unknowingly booked a party at the luxury hotel I owned. Watching their faces when they realized who signed their bill was almost worth everything I'd lost. I know this sounds unbelievable, but I've carried this around long enough. I need to get it off my chest. I'm a 34-year-old man. My sister is 31 now. Growing up, I was the dependable one. If she got into trouble, I fixed it. If she made mistakes, I covered for her. My parents called me the responsible child. Looking back, that really meant they expected me to sacrifice while she got protected. I just never realized how far they were willing to take that. 3 years ago, I was finally building the life I dreamed about. I was the general manager of a successful boutique hotel. I'd spent nearly a decade working my way up from cleaning rooms to supervising staff, then assistant manager, then finally running the entire property. I loved that job. I had a nice apartment, about $55,000 in savings, no debt, and I was getting ready to buy my first home. Then one phone call destroyed everything. At around 2:40 in the morning, my parents started pounding on my apartment door. The second I saw their faces, I knew something terrible had happened. My mother was sobbing so hard she couldn't speak. My father looked 20 years older. My sister sat on my couch, shaking uncontrollably. What happened? I asked. Nobody answered. Then my father quietly said, "There was an accident." I found out my sister and her husband had gone bar hopping. Despite being completely intoxicated, they decided to drive home. They were racing another car through the city. According to police, they crossed into oncoming traffic at nearly 100 miles per hour. A middle school science teacher driving home after grading papers never had a chance. She died before paramedics arrived. My sister's husband escaped with a broken wrist. My sister had only minor injuries. An innocent woman lost her life because they wanted one more drink. I sat there, unable to speak. Then my mother grabbed both my hands. "You have to help your sister." I stared at her. "What?" "She won't survive prison." My father joined her. "She has anxiety. Her health isn't good. You can handle it." I actually laughed because I thought they were joking. They weren't. My mother fell to her knees. "Please." My father said something I'll never forget. "You're stronger than she is." They wanted me to confess to being the driver. The car was registered in my name because I'd loaned it to my sister a week earlier while hers was in the repair shop. Their lawyer believed there wasn't enough physical evidence to immediately disprove a confession. I refused, at first. Then they kept talking. They promised they'd hire the best attorneys. They promised I'd receive a light sentence. They promised they'd visit every week. They promised they'd support me financially afterward. They promised they'd help rebuild my career. Most importantly, they promised I'd never be abandoned. My sister finally looked at me. "I'm begging you." She was crying so hard she couldn't breathe. "I'll owe you my life." She hugged me and whispered, "I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you." I wish I'd walked away. Instead, I confessed. I sold nearly everything I owned to pay legal fees. I emptied my savings to help compensate the victim's grieving family. I lost my apartment. I lost my career. I lost every professional license connected to hospitality management. Then I lost my freedom. Prison wasn't some movie. It was cold, violent, humiliating. Every day was survival. People don't understand what prison really takes from you. It doesn't just steal your time. It changes how people look at you forever. Every night before sleeping, I'd picture my release. I imagined my family waiting outside. I imagined my mother crying as she hugged me. I imagined my sister apologizing. Those fantasies were the only reason I kept going. Not once during those 2 years did any of them visit. Not once. No birthday cards, no Christmas letters, no phone calls, nothing. I kept making excuses for them. Maybe travel was difficult. Maybe they couldn't afford it. Maybe seeing me there hurt too much. I lied to myself because the truth would have broken me. 730 days later, I walked out carrying everything I owned inside a cheap plastic bag. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, old sneakers. That was my entire life. I took 2 buses to my parents' house, the place I'd grown up, the place I'd believed would always be home. My sister answered the door. She was visibly pregnant. Instead of smiling, she sighed. "We need to talk." The moment I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. Nobody hugged me. Nobody welcomed me home. Nobody even asked how prison had been. My father remained seated. My mother folded laundry without looking at me. My brother-in-law leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. Finally, my sister spoke. "You can't stay here." I blinked. "What?" "We're moving into the house." She rubbed her stomach. "The baby's coming." I honestly thought she was kidding. "I gave up 2 years for you." "We know." She shrugged. "But life moved on." My mother finally looked up. "You're a grown man. You'll figure something out." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I have nowhere else to go. My father sighed dramatically. We can't risk you causing problems. What problems? You're an ex-convict. My brother-in-law smirked. No landlord wants someone with your record. You'll probably be unemployed for years. We can't have that around our child. I looked directly at my sister. You promised. She avoided my eyes. I already said thank you. I whispered. You never came to see me. Silence. You never answered my letters. Silence. You let me disappear. My mother rolled her eyes. We were busy. Busy. That was their explanation for abandoning the son who destroyed his own life to save theirs. Something inside me died in that moment. I picked up my bag. Nobody tried stopping me. As I reached the door, my brother-in-law laughed. Don't expect us to rescue you this time. Those were the last words anyone in my family spoke to me. I spent the next week sleeping in a rundown motel while applying for jobs. Nobody wanted to hire someone with a prison record. Then fate stepped in. A law firm finally reached me. My grandfather had passed away while I was incarcerated. He'd quietly invested in commercial real estate decades earlier. After selling several properties, his estate was worth just over $11 million. He left almost all of it to me. Not because I was his favorite, because I was the only grandchild who visited him consistently before prison. He'd updated his will years earlier. I sat there crying in the lawyer's office. For the first time in years, someone had chosen me. Instead of buying sports cars or mansions, I invested. Eventually, I purchased one of the city's oldest luxury hotels. It needed work, a lot of work. I poured nearly everything into renovating it. I personally interviewed every employee, worked 16-hour days, learned every department. Within a year, the hotel had become one of the highest-rated luxury properties in the region. Corporate events, wedding receptions, celebrities, professional athletes. It finally felt like I'd rebuilt the life my family helped destroy. Then karma walked through my front doors. One Saturday evening, I was inspecting the banquet level before a charity gala. I heard a familiar laugh. I looked into one of the private dining rooms. There they were, every single one of them. My parents, my sister, her husband, a dozen relatives. They were celebrating my niece's first birthday. None of them noticed me immediately. I simply stood there watching the people who threw me away celebrate like the happiest family in the world. Then my mother's phone camera turned toward the doorway. She froze. Her eyes widened. Oh my God! Everyone looked over. My sister frowned. What are you doing here? Her husband laughed loudly enough for the whole room to hear. Did you come looking for leftovers? Several relatives chuckled. Apparently, I'd become the family joke. My father shook his head. This isn't the place for you. My sister added, the cheapest thing here probably costs more than your weekly paycheck. I almost smiled. Instead, I calmly walked inside. I actually agree. They looked confused. It is expensive. I pulled out my tablet and opened the hotel's operating system. Then I rotated the screen toward them. Displayed at the top was my name. Owner. Managing Director. Silence swallowed the room. My brother-in-law blinked repeatedly. My mother's mouth literally fell open. My father looked like he couldn't breathe. My sister whispered, No. I looked around the table. You asked why I'm here. I own the hotel, the building, the land, every suite. This private dining room included. Nobody spoke. One cousin quietly set down his fork. Another relative looked like she wanted to disappear under the table. Finally, my father stood. Son, I raised one finger. No. You lost the right to call me that the day you abandoned me. He sat back down. I continued. Your reservation will remain exactly as booked. You'll receive no discounts. No complimentary desserts. No family pricing. You'll pay every cent. I looked directly at my brother-in-law. Now, and after tonight, you are permanently banned from every property I own. His face turned bright red. You can't do that. I already have. I tapped my radio. Within seconds, the head of hotel security arrived. Everything all right, sir? Yes, I smiled. I simply wanted these guests informed that after their dinner concludes, their profiles are to be permanently flagged. The security supervisor nodded. Understood. My mother suddenly burst into tears. We made mistakes. You ruined my life. My sister started crying too. I was scared. So was I. I sat alone in a prison cell for 2 years because I believed a family meant sacrifice. I looked around the room one last time. You taught me something far more valuable. Family isn't determined by blood. It's determined by who stands beside you when everything falls apart. Then I left. An hour later, accounting informed me that my brother-in-law argued over the bill for nearly 30 minutes before reluctantly paying it in full. The total came to just over $9,800. Nobody left a tip. Not that I expected one. Over the following months, they called constantly. Apologies, voicemails, letters. They wanted another chance. Apparently, discovering I was successful made forgiveness much easier. I never answered. A few people have asked if I regret cutting them off. I don't. I already sacrificed 2 years of my life for them. I'm not sacrificing the rest of it, too. Sometimes the greatest act of self respect is refusing to reopen a door that someone else slammed in your face.